Yo, what's up? Welcome to a new episode of Rugby Swag. Yo, we got a great show for you today. Yo, we are going to be talking USA Men's Olympic Sevens. We got a brand new coach. Let's talk about him. Where is he from? Who is he? And what can we expect from him? Also, yo, Ilona Maher continues to have like the star career of dreams. Like, she's continuing to do things I never expected from anybody, let alone a person in rugby. We're going to talk about that. Also, World Rugby is having their executive elections. We might be getting a chance to see a whole new regime change what World Rugby is doing. We're going to talk about it. In addition, Premiership Rugby may not exist for very much longer. We're going to talk about it, man. There's this and so many more stories that we will be talking about. But in the meantime, y'all know what we need to do. Yo, hit me with that intro call.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. You are now tuned in to the greatest of all time, the greatest of all time.
Welcome to the Rugby Swag Show. Yo, welcome, y'all. My name is GiftTime and Bailu. This is my show, the Rugby Swag. And this is a show where we make sure you know your stories don't get lost in ignorance through news and interviews. Y'all, we got a great show today. We got a lot to talk about because we did not get a chance to talk a little bit last week, and a lot continued to happen. But man, the news piles up, and this is what I love. It's not always what happens on the field, but what happens off the field to affect what happens on the field. But before we get started, we absolutely need to go ahead, and I need you guys to go ahead, please, and hit that like button. Please hit and go ahead and subscribe, and absolutely leave a comment if you will. If you've already done it before, absolutely do it again. But I'm also very appreciative of you being able to do it. It helps us push the algorithm up and really gets this to be able to be a space where we can talk about rugby in all its formats and its levels, man. I absolutely adore it. But also, more importantly, it allows me to be able to know that there is something that of value that's being done here, and I really do appreciate all the love and the praise on that. But if you guys are not on YouTube itself, man, please don't feel absolutely threatened like you can't help at all, because you absolutely can go and check us out on any of our podcast audio streaming services. You can check us out on any of our audio platforms. That is Spotify, that is Apple Podcasts, that is Amazon Music, that is iHeartRadio. Absolutely go check them out. You can share it with your friends. Please let them know what's going on because we want to make sure that the music gets around the way that we want to. And of course, lastly, you guys can find us on social media, on Instagram, almost primarily at Rugby Swag Show. Put up clips from the show, news, the information that's going on. Absolutely try and keep people up to date with what's happening. In addition, you can find us on X, not at the moment because here in Brazil we're not allowed to be there, but it looks like the time might be shortening and we'll be making our return back very, very soon. But you can also find us on Facebook at GiftTime Rugby, on TikTok at GiftTime Rugby. Currently not so much on Twitch, but always on YouTube at GiftTime Rugby as well. So, y'all, like I said, we got a great show today. I don't know if you guys got a chance to go watch the WXV1 tournament this past weekend. Fantastic in Vancouver. Great play. USA women took on England. That was a bit of destruction, but man, there were some good plays that came from it. Alev Kelter absolutely killing it, man. One of my favorite plays, Nana Favasi, who I thought was retired from USA Rugby, absolutely dropped shoulder and brought power against England star Ellie Kildun. Oh, beautiful shot. Like That is how you drop the shoulder and low. That's how you bring the power. That's how you bring the pain. That was the American way right there. And I absolutely was for that. Oh my goodness, it was so good. But that being said, England absolutely still did whoop our ass. We lost 61 to 21 on it. So on a positive side, we scored more than the Black Ferns scored against them. On the negative, they definitely scored more than was allowed. So, take it for what it is. I like to look at the positives. Yes, indeed. But we got a great show. We got some great stories that are going to be talking about because a lot is happening in rugby right now. Just a lot is happening in it. So, I don't want to hold us back too much longer. Look, we got to take care of those that take care of us for sure. So we're going to be right back after this commercial break. We're going to be talking USA Rugby and the new head coach that we just attained. This is Gifted Bailey with Rugby Swag. Stay tuned.
I'm going to let you get back to the show in a moment, but I want to talk to you about our sponsors, Health Enhanced Foods, the best specialty flours in the business. What does that mean for you? That is the flours that allow you to be able to get the nutritious need from your bread made. That's muffins, bread, croissants, whatever, pancakes and muffins. It will give you the opportunity to be able to get the best while still being able to eat like you wanted to. We have various amounts of products available for those who have special dietary needs to those who are looking for a special health outcome. And of course, because they're part of the Rugby Swag show, we want to let you know that you got a chance to go to healthenhancedfoods.com and use code Rugby Swag to be able to get 20% off your first order. Y'all, this is something that you're going to need. You got to build up, have your energy at the best, be the maximum. It's 2024. Let's do the best. But now, I want you guys to get into it. Let's get back to the show.
All right, welcome back. Look, man, so USA Rugby just announced this week that they finally made a decision on the men's sevens head coach. Now, if you guys don't remember, Mike Friday, who's the former USA men's head coach for basically the last 10 years, stepped down shortly after the Olympics, decided to move on alongside a bunch of retirements, obviously Perry Baker and a few other people. But the HSBC 7 series season is just around the corner, and it looks like they finally found their guy in Simon Amor, who is formerly an assistant coach of Mike Friday. Now, whenever I heard the news, I didn't really have a reaction. I didn't even, to be honest with you, I kind of forgot that they would be looking for a new head coach. I didn't know what it was because it didn't feel like there was an announcement that there was candidates that they had in mind, or that there was like really a deep search that was going on. It felt like it was very quietly done. But ultimately, whenever it was eventually revealed who the coach was, I got basically what seemed like a lot of people worrying that this is just Mike Friday light, which isn't really even that bad, to be honest with you. Like, it sets a platform, but I think at this point we want to see if there's somebody that can take the team to the next level, and really accelerate what the platform that was already created by Mike Friday. But because this is somebody new, I want to maybe explain it to you guys a little bit on who he is, as I discovered or what I understand. So essentially, Simon Amor is the former Japan rugby men's sevens coach for the better part of the last 3 years, at least. The last 3 years, at least. He is been to, I guess, 2 Olympics under the USA men's head coaching position. USA men's, I'm sorry, the Japanese men's head coaching position. And then he was like a technical director for them as well. He also is a former player for England. So he has played at the highest level as much as he has been able to coach at the highest level. Obviously, if you watch Japan during the 2020, 2021 Olympics and the 2024 Olympics this year, Japan wasn't the most impressive team. I think in 2021 they finished 11th. This year they finished 12th. But again, there's a slew of issues that kind of pop in for that Japan team. Even though 2016 they had a great upset against South Africa and made a pretty solid run into the quarterfinals, and I think the semifinals they made it for the semifinals for the Olympics. But again, different team, different guy, different resources that were going into it. But it seems like Simon has enough of a foundation where he will be familiar to USA, where the tactics could be familiar. But again, the pushback is he going to bring us more of the same, or is it going to be a situation where we are going to see an evolution, maybe see that next level? And again, I feel like this was very quietly done. Looking across the internet, there was a lot of people that were talking about, USA Rugby trying to go after Ben Gollings. If you guys don't know who Ben Gollings was, he was the mastermind behind Fiji and pretty much the dominance that they've been having for Fiji Sevens. Ben Gollings and his program kind of set up that pathway, and Fiji hasn't looked back since. Not to say that Fiji didn't play rugby. I'm just saying like the level of dominance that Fiji has had in sevens is is remarkable. But he's apparently working in soccer as an analyst and making bank. So, it's very unlikely that he was going to go back. And then I've heard some word about a person named Peter Siu. I have no idea who that was. Just seems to be another person that's part of the echelon and is just like someone who could have the potential. But I do remember USA Rugby was also looking for very specific criteria, mainly a person who is going to live here, a person who's able to lead, and then all the basic stuff that you prefer from your head coach. And obviously USA Rugby in sevens has a lot more resources because they get it from the Olympic Committee, and they have a lot more acclaim because, again, people like Emily Bidewell and Mike Friday set this platform up that there's an expectation of winning that comes from these teams. So, that culture goes, but the worry now is, maybe the team reels back a little bit because, it's rebuilding. It's lost its biggest star and game breaker. So I don't know. It'll be difficult. It'll be interesting to see. But what is your thoughts on Simon Amor? Like, how do you feel about his hiring, and what do you think is going to be the outcome with this coming from this year? Do you think that the USA has a chance to do more than just medal in a game, but really maybe take the series, get top 10, be able to figure stuff out? I do believe that the coffers are a little bare. A lot of new experiences, though there's a lot of potential greatness that comes out of it. So it'll be up to Simon to be able to put together basically the team that will be available for 2028, and then subsequently, what happens the next 7 years, 8 years after that. So, yeah, that's it. Let me know what you guys think. We're gonna be right back. We are going to talk a little bit about what's going on with Ilona Maher. Man, like I said, she is a career trajectory that has happened faster and more dynamic than I have seen from anybody else. Like, this stuff is crazy. But we'll be right back after these messages. Stay tuned.
Buckwheat is changing lives. My name is GiftTime. I'm here with Health Enhanced Foods, and I want to tell you about one of my favorite products on our shelves, buckwheat baking mix. Buckwheat is a seed that is incredibly nutrient and protein dense. But what makes it even more important, that buckwheat baking mix is absolutely gluten-free. A lot of times whenever people have buckwheat mixes, they actually even hold wheat inside of it. So it's not fully gluten. And if you're a person that is celiac or diabetic, or you're just really trying to be health conscious, it's not something that you want to have to worry about. What makes our buckwheat baking mix even more important is that it is versatile. You can use it for pancakes, you can use it for waffles, you can use it for making loaves of bread, you can make it for cupcakes. But what helps even more is that it is allergen free, it is nut free, it is dairy free, that there is no additional additives in it. There's no leavening there, so that if you want to be able to raise your bread, you can put in the baking powder yourself and get it fluffy. If you don't, you absolutely do not have to. You get the bread that you love without the cost to your health. You can absolutely find buckwheat baking mix at healthenhancedfoods.com. Absolutely check it out. Get your nostalgia back. Get back to eating and loving the way that you are, and absolutely get back to the energy that you know that you can get without having to destroy yourself. I'm looking forward to seeing you get it. Let's go.
Welcome back. Yo, so I talked about it. Ilona Maher's career trajectory is going gangbusters, right? Absolutely gangbusters. You know, one way that you knew that it was going to be making, obviously, we've been talking about Dancing with the Stars a lot, but the fact that Ilona was not able to jump onto that WXV team for that would, you know, is basically doing warm-up setups in the form of this real competition for the Rugby World Cup next year, I'm sorry. And her start, it's like she just keeps hitting these wild milestones. Like, it was one thing when it was like she came off the Olympics and then she got the highest follower count in rugby with almost 4 million, or I'm pretty sure it's past 4 million followers on Instagram. And then it was like, okay, cool. She's on the Sports Illustrated cover. Dang, okay, sweet. Yo, you find out, and then next thing you know, oh, talking with the president. Oh, Dancing with the Stars. Oh, doing the Emmy carpet. Doing the red carpet at the Emmys and legitimately doing it well. Well, this next one is just adds to the stamp of what a hell of a summer that this woman has had, let alone a career altogether. Well earned. It was announced that Ilona Maher would be a part of the Time 100 Next, which basically is, if you guys know the Times 100 was 100 of the most influential people in the world according to Time Warner. I don't know the official company name, but Time, the magazine Time. So Time 100 Next is basically a look at the next generation. It's almost like a 40 under 40, 30 under 30 kind of effect. And basically, Ilona Maher got tagged in. And why is this important? Yo, she's put into the same names as Sabrina Carpenter, the singer. She's in there with Jaylen Brown, the Celtics championship basketball player. We got CJ Stroud for the Houston Texans. You know, just a slew of people that are on Shabuzi. Shout out to my Nigerian Ekpe brothers. Shabuzi out here, absolutely with those names on the ballot. And if you guys don't know who at least any of them are, bring somebody that's at least familiar to you. Aaron Pierre, who is the lead for the Netflix movie Rebel Ridge. So she's on that list. She has made it. I think this may be the first rugby player ever. I'm not even going to say like active rugby player. I mean real rugby player that's played consistently, that's been in this consistently, that's been on the game without question. That not I practiced once or I played it once and then I got in. Like a real live, full-blown rugby person on a Times 100 list, whether it's next or the original. Like, that is amazing. That is absolutely freaking amazing. But again, that's not all Ilona has been doing. Dude, I forgot it again. I literally am messing up on this. Yo, let me make sure I hit that Ilona watch. Let's go. Yo, Okay, I got to make sure I get those right. So even with that being said, of course, Ilona Maher is still doing Dancing with the Stars. And this week, they don't actually have any performances. They'll be back next week, Monday and Tuesday, apparently, from what they said over and over again. But last week, Ilona put on her second Dancing with the Stars performance. And needless to say, I think this one was well played out. This one was probably one of her better works. I mean, there's only been two, so you hope you're consistently improving. But I'm gonna leave you to judge that. Let me show you where. All right, let me show you where it is. All right.
The salsa. With her partner Alan Burston, it's Ilona Maher.
Now I had the time of my life, and I owe it all to you. I've been waiting for so long, now I finally found someone to stand by me. We saw the writing on the wall as we felt this magical fantasy. Just remember, you're the one thing I can't get enough of. So I tell you something, this could be love, because I had the time of my life. No one ever felt this way before. Yes, I swear it's the truth, and I owe it all to you.
Thanks for watching.
To get more amazing Dancing with the Stars
videos, just walk those fingers on down and hit the subscribe button.
Yo, so exactly, great performance by Ilona Maher on this one. Like, and needless to say, the voting went out the same way. Like, Ilona Maher made it through another round. The person, I think Anya Pataya or something like that, ended up getting voted out. It was pretty much expected. She was the lowest rated, had the lowest percentage of being able to win. We talked about this on the last show. Like, her percentage to be able to get it was literally at the bottom, and she was the first one to get cut. So Ilona Maher just continuing to have a career, having a person's full career within the last 2 months. All right, like the last 2 months. It's a countdown. She's going to be in a movie soon. It's no longer a matter of if, it's a matter of when. I'm already wondering what movie that her management is going to be talking to be able to get her on, or if she's going to be a guest on one of these Disney shows, because it makes no sense for her not to be. She is absolutely zooming. Though I've got to make the assumption that by the time the HSBC series kicks in, she'll be coming back into the fold to practice. But right now, live strong, live life, live happy, because you are absolutely kicking ass and taking names. Oh my goodness, this is wild. It's wild. Anyways, let me know what you guys think. Let me know what your thoughts are on this one, man. Like, I mean, how do you like the performance? How do you feel it? Like, you can't go mad with it. You can't get mad at it. Let's go. All right, y'all. We're gonna be right back after this, man. We got a really dark, bleak story, man. Talking about Premiership Rugby. Man, the economy of rugby is really in dire straits right now. We're gonna talk about it soon after this break. This is Gift Bailu with GiftTime Rugby, with Rugby Swag Show. Be right back.
They're the wheat flour that you can eat. My name is GiftTime and Baylor. I'm here with Health Enhanced Foods. And I want to tell you about one of our best and most beloved products, our sweet white wheat baking mix. Now, Now, this is the baking mix for those who are not really looking for something that's gluten-free, but they are looking for something that they can eat that is going to still be healthy and is not going to be dangerous. White flour is typically a very processed, incredibly bleached flour, and it's not good for you. It's incredibly cheap for a reason. Our sweet white wheat bread mix is whole grain, dairy-free, high in dietary fiber, free of additives, and is absolutely unprocessed and unrefined. With our sweet white wheat bread mix, you can feel like you're getting all the same rewards that you would get from poor white bread, but with all the nutritional value. You're able to still make your bread loaves or your cakes, your flat bread or your cookies, but you don't have to feel like you are going to be robbing yourself of good carbohydrates. You can get the sweet white wheat bread mix from healthenhancedfoods.com. Absolutely go impress your friends and family with the greatest bread while not making them feel like they have to be gluten-free at the same time. No dangers, full body pleasures. Go ahead and get yours today. Let's go.
Welcome back, y'all. All right, man. Gallagher Premiership Rugby. Man, this might be going under, and this is really, really big. So, if you guys don't know, Gallagher Premiership Rugby is the professional rugby league based in the UK. It's 10 teams, used to be 13 teams that are competing throughout the year for a championship, yada, yada, yada. That part's very easy to understand. It's teams that are from the Wales, England, Scotland, and Ireland. And so this was one that was really special because of the fact that the person who put together this financial sheet of what the revenue was for rugby really wanted to get an idea of what the elite rugby levels are looking like. What's the business model looking like? How is it working? Can it maintain itself? And you know, it was really disturbing to kind of see exactly how much it doesn't add up numbers wise. And it speaks a little bit of volume of what we got whenever we talked with Joanne Yap, who was part of one of the teams that shut down, the Worcester Warriors, and being able to understand from her positioning why they shut down, which was these clubs, especially after COVID, were requiring, like, they typically were held together by really rich owners. And when really rich people were losing money in businesses, they just were not able to maintain. And so you're looking at the numbers on this and you're just like, yo, you guys are not doing great at all, despite the fact that even a report that we read about the last time we talked spoke that basically 60% of revenue for rugby comes from France and the UK, Premiership Rugby being a greater part of that. That's wild. That is wild. And now obviously they're talking about from TV deals and sponsorships, but still from the UK and from France. Really, they specifically said England and France. So let's go into this a little bit to talk about, like, what was the breakdown about this and how this all really came together. All right. So I'm going to go ahead, throw this up. So the research for this is being done by a company named Leonard Curtis. And as they stated in their report, Leonard Curtis is a company with 30 years of restructuring and turnaround expertise, a multidisciplinary professional service group, has 27 regional offices across the UK and Channel Islands, employs 300 people. The company specializes in restructuring and insolvency, funding and legal services for SMEs, larger corporates and their advisors. So basically, they got a professional auditor to be able to go in and take a look at what was going on with Premiership Rugby, right? So without going into the full details, there's a slew of people who were working on this. We're talking about 3 people plus panelists, which was about 5 people altogether that were working on this. So let's go through the breakdown. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put the link to the total report in the description. I'm going to put the link in the description. You can go ahead and read it yourself. I just want to go over some of the highlights of the stuff that I thought were particularly interesting to me, so that we can kind of work and see how this all came to fruition. So first and foremost, we talk about the revenue. All right, revenue that was made from the 22-23 season compared to what it was pre-pandemic. So for whatever it's worth, I really appreciated the way that they did this, because they gave some good explanations as well, so that you just weren't kind of like lost in the sauce. So as of the 22-23 season, that the season, not last season, but the season beforehand, I think we're just still yet to be known on what the revenue is for it. The highest earning revenue generating club was the Harlequins, followed by the Saracens, then Northampton, and then Leicester. All right. Now, it's very interesting because basically between and Exeter was at fifth, really close to Leicester. So the Harlequins made £26,814 for the year. Saracens made £23,207 for the year. Northampton, £21,956. Leicester, £21,909, £909,000, and then subsequently Exeter at £21,469 million. So 469,000 pounds altogether. So like these clubs aren't making obviously that much. We know this. They already got like salary caps of like 5 million, I think, and that cap had been dropping precipitously since then. But compared to where they were in 2019, most of the clubs had shown improvement. Now, the worst three clubs as of 2023, because the three clubs that did not make it out of the pandemic, which were London Irish, the Wasp, and Worcester Warriors, obviously were unable to record any income going into 2022, 2023 because they don't exist anymore. But the worst teams are Newcastle Falcons at 11,221,000 pounds, Sale Sharks at 11,735,000 pounds, and the Bristol Bears at 14,900,000 pounds. Bristol Bears definitely got a jump. Basically almost double their money from 2018-2019, which was at 9,392,000 pounds, and then Sale and Newcastle increased by a million, and Newcastle has decreased in their revenue. All right, this is just the revenue, so we haven't even started taking out the expenses yet. And one of the things that they said on this is in their explanation. They said, as we already saw, the Harlequins at 26.8 million lead the way in the Rugby Union Revenue League for 2022-2023, followed by the Saracens. And the Sale Sharks and Newcastle Falcons are the lowest clubs in the revenue table, and the gap between the top and the bottom revenue is almost 2.4 to 1. It's double and a half. Like the difference, which is crazy. All right, you think with revenue sharing there would be something, but apparently, again, there's other factors, and thankfully, again, they talk about these factors. Right. All right, so they go into the wage chart. All right, and this is where it starts getting interesting to me. All right, so for the Harlequins, and they broke it down by the percentages of it. For the Harlequins, who we saw had the highest revenue, they also have the highest wages, or at least of 2022-2023 season. There's a 15,177,000 pounds, which makes up 57% of their revenue is wages, right? The Saracens, who also we saw a number 2, are at 14,932,000 pounds, and that made up almost 64% of their revenue. Bath, which I think was like 5th in revenue generation, right? They were lower than Exeter, if I remember. Yeah, they were lower than Exeter. Theirs is 14,886,000, and it's 75% of their revenue. Now let's drop it down to where the lower end of it, and this is where it started getting really wild to me. Because you got something like the Bristol Bears, who were like the third worst revenue generating club. They used basically 87% of their revenue on just wages. On just wages. And these wages, we're talking about, these are wages for total staff costs, for professional teams. So that's the players, the staff, all that, right? Like Sale Sharks, who are bottom two, used 92% of their revenue on just wages. Like, I want to put this into comparison alone. And I know like the NFL is a much bigger entity, but like the players alone are getting like 49%, right? I would argue that the total wages that an NFL team puts on just salary probably is much closer to like 53% than it is to 57%, let alone 92% of your total wages. 92%. Actually, let's find out what is the total. The total percentage. You know what? Let's put it up on the board. I like making sure. I like making sure you guys are able to join with me on this. The total percentage of revenue that an NFL team pays in wages. So let's see. It's not quite where we're looking at. Let's see. Okay, so we're just talking. This is just salary cap. Salary cap. NBA, which has much closer to 50%. It's 50% in the salary cap for the players. Today's free, and it basically said the NFL runs more so about 47%. Okay. Yeah. So let's say arguably it's, if we're talking 47% of the total cap, 49%. Really, I think after their most recent CBA, then maybe the staff probably doesn't surpass 52-53% when it comes to just wages on its own. And the NFL makes a profit. So when you're looking back at what the percentage take of the percentage take of these companies, of these teams for Premiership, this is wild. 92% on just salary is insane. Absolutely insane. So, and then it even took a look at the ones with the teams that went to default, like the London Irish, where they said, all right, so cost control, both Harlequins and Saracens top both the minimum revenue and the wage tables, although the wages to revenue ratios are 57% and 64% respectively, are also some of the best in the industry, giving them a buffer on cost control that the salary cap should naturally provide. And then we look at Newcastle Falcons, which the Newcastle Falcons using 82% of their wages and still being a horrible team is so unsettling. With even like Sale Sharks being like 92% and you still don't have, like, you're not winning well. Like, I know these are a couple years old, but like if we look at like the chart for where these teams are now, like where their standings are this year in for the 2024-2025 season. No, you can say a lot changes, but that much has not changed. There hasn't been that much of a change. So, like, you have Sale that is 8 out of 10 in the standings right now. You have the Harlequins that are 4 out of 10. At least they're coming, but that's not who we were worrying about. Newcastle is the worst team in the league. And Bristol Bears. Bristol right now is 3rd. Okay. Hold on. Let's see where the standings were. Well, okay, let's finish up the look through, and then we'll go to where they stand at the end of those seasons. So, okay, so this is the one that made it most important, which was the losses. What were the losses for these years, and who made money and who didn't, right? So, spoiler alert, nobody made money. All right, nobody made money. So basically, the profit loss denotes a club's overall profit to loss taken from a final line of the income statement. It is the calculation of all incomes minus all expenditures for any given year. A higher and positive figure is more desirable, while only the data in this table is from 2018 to 2022, 2023. Is also other ones have been included in context. So let's look at this. All right, Gloucester is the one that had the best outcome, right? Gloucester was basically in the middle of the expenditures of it all. They only lost £544,000 in their season. Northampton, secondly, lost £1,064,000 for that 2022-2023 season. Leicester coming in 3rd, losing 1.5 million, and Newcastle Falcons losing only 2.36 million, which is surprising. With the team, okay, if those are the worst, then those are the best outcomes of losses of debt that of non-profit, let's say. Then who had it worst? The Saracens at the bottom, losing £5.29 million on the year. All right. Bristol Bears are only second worst with £4.55 million. And Bath Rugby at £4.429 million. That's crazy. That's crazy, right? I want to see, what was the standings for the 2022-2023 year? So for the 2020, this is the, for the 2022-2023 season final standings for these teams. All right. Ended with Saracens came out number 1. They won the championship. Sale at number 2, Leicester at 3, Northampton at 4. Compare that to their losses. Northampton is the one that got the best outcome out of it all. Northampton got the best outcome of it at all because they were 4th and only had a loss of £1.064 million. Gloucester, while they only lost £564,000, which is now comparatively sounds crazy, they were 10th in the league that year, right? Leicester Tigers, they were 3rd. So, you can kind of see that some of these were... Wait, I don't think this is the right year. Hold on a second. Hold on a second right here. Hold on. Because Oh yeah. Okay, yeah. Okay, the London Irish. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, this is correct. It was correct. But yeah, like it's crazy. It's crazy on how this goes. So I think let's see. Let's go to 32. Then it breaks down into the debt division, and that's like the accumulated debt over time, which all these teams are have this. All right. So I could go on and on and on and on and on and on and on about this because this is an incredible task. But ultimately, the question is, what does any of this mean? And just for the one last thing before we go, the balance sheet overall. All right, we're talking about like with all the debt, with all the revenue, all the everything that comes in, what is the final balance sheet for these teams? And out of them, 3 teams are relatively into positive. That is Leicester Tigers, Northampton Saints, and Gloucester Rugby at 51.78 million pounds, 16.553 million pounds for Northampton Saints, and 7.815 million pounds for Gloucester Rugby. And everybody else is completely in debt. That means of 10 teams, 3 have assets enough to be maintenance, just to be able to keep going. Everybody else is just in the red consistently. Right? Which speaks to the business problem of it all, right? It speaks to the business of it all. But what does it all mean? So the reason we look at that and we see it is that so many of these rugby clubs basically run off of this, like, these are the premier business modeling. Like, okay, if the top guys who right now are literally, insolvent, like they could go bankrupt at any point in time, like their last 3 teams, London Irish, Wasps, and Worcester Warriors did, then what is stopping them now? And it's really literally paycheck to paycheck. It's day to day, just knowing that there's somebody who is willing to pay the cash for it. But it also speaks of volume that they've made the game in terms of its scalability so much scarier right now. It's so much scarier right now. There's no certainty as to its viability, and it's really just, it's not too big to fail. It is like one bad windfall away from falling apart, and that's unsettling. Like I said again, in that Sports Business Journal article that was talking about the worries about Rugby World Cup in the U.S. Once again, 60% of revenue in rugby comes from England and the UK and France. And France doesn't have a better business plan either. France's business plan is just tax write-offs for billionaires, which is scary. They don't even understand the concept of what's a salary cap and spending money. Like, they just waste money like it's nothing because they got tax advantages off of it. That's wild. They don't even care about a profit. I don't understand how it works whatsoever. But I mean, we need to do better as a rugby community. Like this is why I think it makes me a little bit sad sometimes whenever we see like the MLR and whatnot, and they're just not getting their stuff together as well, because I feel like as a U.S. public, U.S. like sports, we understand how to more or less make sports more profitable, whether we make it politically advantageous to do it, or we are able to have the opportunity costs, but we got to make it work. But to follow systems that are literally already broken, it doesn't make sense to me. This is why I also don't really care whenever like UK or South Pacific, and we're not even going to talk about Super League, and like Super League is borderline dead in the water coming around to it. Like, I don't want to hear from the opinions of anybody in those business. Yeah, the rugby is technically better because just a longer culture of it, but the health of the business of rugby is really, really poor. And we keep repeating that same mistake over and over and over again. I'm hoping that with the women's elite rugby, they're going to get something else. But speaking of which, the women's side, there was one thing that they said on this, which was a real big positive. And that was ultimately that the women's side might end up being a balancer for a lot of these teams because there is a renewed spirit in it. Like, you know, whenever your peak audience for your championship game is 1.25 million people, that is horrible for a professional sport, especially a top 5 sport in the UK. Let's say top 3. All right, football, soccer, cricket, and rugby. Let's say top 3. Though I think basketball supersedes rugby, but let's say top 3 in that. 1.25 million. That would be bad for a college game in the US, college football game in the US. That's a little less. That's coming up around what the WNBA does per game. Not even for the finals. Per regular season smegular game. Like, it's not a good money-making scheme. But they said, like, the women's side, and they might bring another aspect to it. So it's in their best interest to continue to invest in the women's premiership, because that's a different level of ticket sales. That's more merch sales. And the ignoring of that literally is just asking to be set up for the ultimate failure and crashing. Because, like I said, this is wild. Absolutely wild. And people it needs to be absolutely shifted where the mindset is, so that rugby players have a place to be able to grow. And this is how you grow the game. You got to give people that top level. Man. Ugh, man, it's so aggravating. But let me know what you guys think. Like, looking through, and like I said, I'm gonna post this up on in the link in the descriptions, and really give a chance. I'll put it on the website as well too. But yeah, this is one that was really interesting to me overall. I don't think rugby's over, but like I said, it's one bad windfall again away. Like, if another COVID or even half of that, or just a supply chain issue comes in, I don't know if that league maintains itself. I don't know if it's able to hold itself. I am an advocate for merging, and I know we talked about this on the Rugby Odds, and I think the Lizard, Steve Lewis, was like, it wouldn't make any sense because all these leagues have very different objectives and they have different owner sets and mindsets, and it would be counterintuitive. But and they would just be sharing from the same TV pot essentially. But I would say I don't think that's accurate. I think there would be a different vigor that goes with it, because it would be not necessarily just transcontinental, but you would have a more vicious and motivated sets of rivalry. The UK versus France, and put the URC involved. Though I think the URC is actually good on its own. I would rather just a Premiership Rugby top 14 combination altogether. And that one would make the most amount of sense. And I think that would make a much better TV deal, because I think there'd be much more people to watch, especially if you had a championship of the number 1 Premiership Rugby team versus the number 1 top 14 team to come together. And maybe that championship game could solve a lot of these money issues that are persisting and have continued on to these days. So I don't know. Let me know what you guys think on it, man. I just you know, I don't know how to further go on that one. It's so unsettling. It's so unsettling. All right, moving on, yo. We got some more information. We're gonna stay on that side of the pond. We're staying on that side of the pond because World Rugby is getting ready for elections this year. All right. Now, the last time we had it, there was a big battle for the chairman of the board for World Rugby, Augustin Pichot and Bill Beaumont coming together to battle it out. The old school versus the new school. Man, where is the line going to go? Where are we taking our directions to? And ultimately, Bill Beaumont ended up winning of the chairman role again for a second consecutive term. And, it left a bitter taste. Obviously, Augustin Pichot decided to never rerun and said, and basically was like, yo, World Rugby is going to screw the smaller tiers and it's going to put things into a spot. And, there was a lot of controversy with that because there was like a lot of backroom deal making and unions that were supposed to be on Pichot's side ended up switching at the last second, unbeknownst. Like it's a whole storyline. Honestly, it's a whole storyline. But this year, like I said, it is no longer Bill Beaumont. All right. This guy is heading out. I think there's been a lot of criticism, and reasonably so, about the archaic look at how rugby is. And now, mind you, don't get me wrong, they've done a few things to listen to the fans and make rule changes and et cetera like that. But I think ultimately it's always been about protecting that tier one, that top grouping of rugby teams internationally and then club wise. And I think Bill Beaumont continued that same phase. We see this with the Nations Cup tournament that be coming up in a couple of years, where basically the tier twos cannot play the tier ones for a better part of a year or two. As they get acclimated in, something similar to WXV, which can hinder the development of a tier 2 team to play against upper level competition. In addition to that, we've seen obviously other rules. We've seen a lot more segmenting of play, investments entered into it. Like there's a lot of initiatives that have gone down, but with this, like I said, it is interesting to try and figure out what is going to end up being the next chairman. And apparently it's not just chairman that is up for grabs, right? We actually have a slew of positions that are essentially up for grabs at this point. Let me go ahead and bring that up. All right. So let's bring you guys into the fold again, this because I want you to be able to see this as well. All right. So as it's known, there's the nominations that they're going to be taking place on the not nominations. The elections will be taking place in Dublin on November 14th. Right now, nominations are still can be received. They were opened up September 23rd and they close October 15th. For anybody who is interested in being a part of the World Rugby Administration, but you can't just enter into it any what way, right? So these are the rules that are set to be able to allow you to be a candidate for positioning. All right. So to be a candidate, to be allowed, you have to be recommended by your union. All right. I want to be able. Where is it? I just had this here. All right. So to be nominated, all candidates must be members of the World Rugby Council and be nominated by their member union or regional association and seconded by a separate union or regional association. The chair will become independent upon election and will be appointed to the Events Co board. All right, whatever that is. All right. And so these are the positions that are currently, I guess, up for grab. So the positions that are up for grabs, it looks like, are the World Rugby Chair, which is elected by the council, the World Rugby Chief of Executive, which currently is Brett, what's his name? Brett Alan Gilpin. I don't know where I got. Oh, I had Brett Toms from before. You have independent events company chair, which are appointments approved by the executive board following an independent recruiting process. You have 2 Northern Hemisphere high performance union members elected by the council from the representative to the council of the unions of England, France, Ireland, Italy, Japan, Scotland, and Wales. 2 Southern Hemisphere high performance union members elected by the council from representatives to council of the union of Argentina, Australia, New Zealand, and South Africa. 1 non-high performance union member elected by council from the representative to council of the unions of Canada, Fiji, Georgia, Romania, Samoa, Uruguay, and USA. And 1 regional association member elected by council from the representative to council of the regional associations of Asia Rugby, Oceania Rugby, Rugby Afrique, Rugby Americas North, Rugby Europe, and South America Rugby. And then 3 independent members approved by the council, 2 females, including Angelina Ruggiero, whose current mandate runs through 2027. So literally only 2 people are going to be able to be independent members because she's still there. And then 2 athlete representatives nominated by the International Rugby Players, IRP appointments approved by the council, 1 male, 1 female. For all the players? All the players is just 2? Like, how? What? Yo, wilding. All right. So the council will select 6 representatives, 2 Northern Hemisphere high performance union members, 2 Southern, basically everything we just said, and nominated. So these are up for grabs. Apparently, these are all that are up for grabs. In line with the reform that happened in 2022. So, and in the election. So yeah. So apparently, like, you know, there's still names that were being brought, and you know what? Honestly, there's people who have been rejected. So there was equally a story that also is what brought this to my attention that was on Rugby Pass that basically was like, all right, who's going to be filling in as a successor for Bill Beaumont, right? And they had this one guy who currently is interested in trying to go into it. I don't know much about him, but it looks like there's his name, it's this Australian guy who I think is supposed to be looking to it. What's his name? I hate whenever I want to be able to tell the story and I can't find the name. I feel like his name was John something. Australian guy. I mean, looks like he's just another old school rugby player, rugby guy. Been in it. Apparently, he had corporate success and came back in. But the part that made me laugh the most was whenever they talked about there's this guy John Jeffrey who was supposed to be a favorite to be able to succeed Beaumont, ended his bid after failing to receive backing by his own union. Like, that's an ultimate insult right there. Like, your own team your own people don't even want you to be in that position of power for whatever reason. That's wild. That's wild. So it's still anybody's game. I don't know who is currently in the runnings for who've already not been nominated in. I guess we'll find out in October 15th, and we'll talk about it a little bit more maybe for next week. But in the meantime, you know, we at least know that there is at least somebody, hopefully, that can bring some changes. You know, I don't know how much they're gonna actually do in terms of like tier 2, tier 3 development, or even responsible money distribution or responsible business modeling, because it looks like there'll probably be a lot of guys that are already been, obviously, if they're already under World Rugby Council, they've already made at least some impact in the last 3-4 years. And so their mindset might not be completely different than what's already happening, if not satisfied, just to fulfill the plans that are already set to move forward. I don't know. I think the last one, 2020, was a little bit more exciting because of the fact that there was a clear new school thinking, especially seeing how Argentina is going now. I really feel like Augustin Pichot would have been a really interesting chairman of the board to go with and provided some legitimate ideas. This year, I have no idea. It feels like it'll probably be a handover. The fact that, the unions that need the most help only have one or a partial vote, representative vote, is, speaks volumes. And, I guess we'll see how it all goes. I wonder if it'll be as exciting as the last one. But let me know what you guys think about it. Let me know where your mind is with it. And what do you guys feel is it? If you know more information, even about who's up for vote, man, please let me know. Throw it up in the comments, man. I absolutely love the conversation. All right. We're going to be right back after these messages, and we will get back to talking about, some quote classlessness that happened in the 2023 Rugby World Cup. That just crucial, man. That Rugby World Cup had a lot. People striking, some smack talking in a way that you just, like I said, we're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about it. This is Gifted Bailu with Rugby Swag. Be right back.
Don't you love a great ketogenic family? My name is Gifted Bailu. I'm here with Health Enhanced Food. I wanted to talk to you about one of our top baking mixes, and that is our ketogenic baking mixes. We got our ketogenic seed baking mix, our ketogenic almond baking mix, and of course, our ketogenic coconut baking mix. Now, what is so important about it being ketogenic? Now, for those who don't know, ketogenic means that it is utilizing low carbs to be able to eat from. The point of it is so that your body will naturally activate burning from your fat and be able to sustain off your proteins rather than feeding your body carbohydrates and your body simply burning that and you just don't lose weight. And so whenever you're doing that process, it's incredibly difficult. And of course, you're always going to have a craving for wanting to eat the breads and the carbs that you typically would have. With our keto baking mixes, you can have the pancakes, the waffles, the cookies, the cakes, the pizza crust that you absolutely desire without sacrificing the work, your diet, and obviously the results that you are trying to get. All our ketogenic baking mixes are gluten-free, grain-free, plant-based, and absolutely loaded with natural vitamins and minerals. We want to make sure that they are low net carb, they have no added sugar, they are protein rich, they have good healthy fats, but even more importantly, they have a low glycemic level. So for those who are diabetic and you're also still trying to find something, we have the baking mixes that are for you. And I'm sure you're wondering, why make 3 versions of them if they all are basically doing the same thing? Well, we wanted to make sure, as always, that we are trying to specialize to your dietary need. So with our ketogenic coconut, we wanted to give you a version that allows you to have a sweeter bread without sacrificing your diet. But it provides you things that you can make with your cakes, you can make your cookies, but you can be able to not have to lose your mind trying to find things that can satiate the taste without ruining your diet. With our ketogenic almond baking mix, that is one that has probably the highest protein content. It allows you to be able to control your blood sugar levels, reduce your blood pressure, lower cholesterol levels, and of course, it goes to promoting weight loss and being able to control the hunger. And for our ketogenic seed, this is for those who have a nut allergy and they can't take anything like the almonds. So we want to give them still the same thing. You can still make your bread. You can still make your pizza crust. You can still make your cakes and your buns and your muffins, but you don't have to worry about having an allergic reaction. You definitely can go check out the ketogenic line of products at healthenhancedfoods.com. Go ahead, Keep up with your diet, get the foods that are necessary to keep you going, and let's get the results that you absolutely deserve. Let's go.
All right, welcome back, man. Look, we talking about drama. Some drama happening from the Rugby World Cup 2023, man. This doesn't stop. Yo, so apparently there was a story that came out. If you guys don't know, Johnny Sexton, who had retired from Ireland rugby, long-time superstar for Ireland, helped them get into number one, but unfortunately they fell in the semifinals they fell in the quarterfinals to New Zealand. And were unable to continue on, kind of choking out the remaining with the time, all that work. But it was basically Johnny Sexton's last game, and I guess it didn't go off as ceremoniously as it should. So hold on, before we get started, I got to bring up the video. All right, you don't hear very much, but you see first how we saw it from the Rugby World Cup, and then what the explanation apparently was along with it. All right, let's start this over again. Let's do this correctly. See the handshakes? All right. Johnny Sexton's up at the top right. And then that's Reiko. Looks like there's a little Johnny going into his face, and then we're just walking up.
There is a house built out of stone.
Right? Very innocuous, whatever. Didn't seem like it was that big a deal at the time. But apparently it was a big deal. All right, so Johnny Sexton, I guess he wrote a tell-all book. Should, as a star athlete, if you had any level of reasonable success, you absolutely should make an autobiography or a biography. I absolutely, at the end of your career, I think you should. Not all of them are going to be good, but your story absolutely needs to be told. All right. So apparently in the book, he talks about an exchange he had with All Black star Reiko Ioane. Reiko is, I believe he's a winger for the All Blacks. But apparently it was a quarterfinals. I said the semifinals. It was a quarterfinal. Yeah, I said it was a quarterfinals. And so apparently Johnny Sexton said, like, everybody was cool, everybody's leaving and you're ending out the game. And he said he's looking at, I think, Barnes. He says, Whitlock. Okay, so this is what he says in the book. It says Johnny Sexton goes, Whitlock, Sam Whitlock, who was also a player for the All Blacks. Basically, he says he didn't want to look at the loss anymore. The 118 I'm just going to read it directly. The 118 times capped icon also says referee Wayne Barnes got the match-ending penalty call wrong. The 39-year-old said, Johnny Sexton, I couldn't bring myself to watch the quarterfinals back. I don't think I ever will. I don't need to. I've mentally replayed every second over and over. It finishes the same way every time. Ronan Keller still plows into Brody Retallick and Sam Whitelock. Whitelock goes in for the poach, clearly without releasing, but somehow Wayne Barnes awards him the penalty, even though it has all happened under his nose and it's all over. He added, and as I stand there, hands on hips, staring in disbelief at Barnes, Reiko Ioane, this is where it gets wilding, comes up to me and tells me, get back 10 meters. I said, huh? Said penalty. He said penalty back 10, and then after Barnes blows the final whistle. So that's not where it gets funny. This is where it gets wilding. So Johnny Sexton goes on to reveal all of what was said between him and Iona and himself in the quote expletive exchange before stating the all-black player lacked any humility. And Iona goes, "Don't miss your flight tomorrow. Enjoy your retirement, ya cunt." And Johnny Sexton says, "So much for the All Blacks' famous no dickheads policy. So much for their humility." And he says, "I walked after Iona and called him a fake humble fucker." It doesn't look great. Me having a go at one of them just after we lost, but I can't be expected to ignore that. Yo, I don't know why. I thought this was hilarious. Absolutely hilarious. And when I tell you, this gives me such a difference sometimes between American sports and sports internationally. And mind you, don't get me wrong, I know there's that, especially in Europe, and especially out of the fans, them cats are not peaceful people. Like that is ruckus in a different way. Like it's a different level of cult level behavior. But even on the field, like I should assume there's a certain level of animosity, especially when you have a strong rivalry, especially like what the All Blacks have had with the Irish. Like I get the humility. I get that it's rugby, and I get that there's the hooligan game played by gentlemen, gentlewomen, whatever, and you act accordingly. But like, yo, you can hate people on the field, and you can be like, yo, I'm gonna rub your nose in it. And you know what? While I don't agree with Ioane, Reiko, and I don't care for that, and I honestly I think it's a little B-made, to say the least. I ain't even really that mad. Like, yo, that man does not like Johnny Sexton. I don't know how Johnny Sexton talks whenever he's on the field, because I don't listen to him mic'd up on the field. But like, you know, sometimes, hey man, you just get your one last shot. Now, I also think that if Reiko had gotten punched in the side of the face after that, it would have also been slightly justified. But yo, give credit to Johnny Sexton for giving honestly what would be probably the lamest comeback I've ever heard. Is like, you're a fake humble effer. Like, okay. Okay. You lost. Like, I don't know. It just it made me laugh because it's so egregious. It's so out the way, and the fact on top of that, like, he even complimented. He said like everybody else was cool. You know, everybody else was cool, but whatever that little exchange was enough to, you know, rile people up. He said he later got in touch with Joe Schmidt to explain his behavior, because Joe was part of the All Blacks coaching team, and guys, they go way back. Joe Schmidt, if you guys don't know, is now the coach for Australia. And he was a coach. He was, I think, the former coach for Ireland before Colin Farrell's dad, Andy Farrell, took over. So, you know, Sexton's been in this for a while, but I just like, what are you explaining? Like, what are you explaining? Like, it's cute. It's humility. He makes horrible comebacks. Like, you gotta bully that. I'm surprised there wasn't more bullying that went on. Like, but at the same time, you know, it was just a funny exchange. I personally am not interested to see what Johnny Sexton's book is going to be like. I think it'll be a good probably story, especially for those who are in Ireland and have seen the rise of Irish rugby over the last several years. But I get this feeling that it's going to be really similar to former captain of the All Blacks, former captain of the Richie McCaw's book, which in my opinion was horrendously boring. Chasing Great, I think, was a good documentary, but I think Chasing Great, his book was snooze fest. But again, I'm not against it. I think everybody who is especially a star athlete needs to put out a book. You don't know who's going to need it, and especially put everything into perspective and call out people and name names and put people into their position. You're retired. Ain't nobody worried. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. All right. But I just thought this one was just a legitimately hilarious story to me. What do you guys think? You know, like in the positioning of it all, like, do you feel like, obviously, is Reiko Ioane in the wrong? He's clearly in the wrong. But do you feel like you would expect that after a heated game? Emotions are high at one of the top moments, millions of people watching, and you get in that positioning. This kind of reminds me of the South Africa England one with Tom Curry. Whenever he thought the prop called him a white C word, I've said the word already, white cunt on this one. Like, even though they said that it was they weren't even talking about him, they were speaking a word in Xoba, and which was a call at itself. Like the smack talking. Like, do you think the smack talking is there, or even more so, do you think that the smack talking and then it being called out to the public without sometimes context is legit? Like, I just want to know your thoughts on it. I just want to know where your thoughts are when it comes to that, because I think these are hilarious, but I think it's more hilarious because they're not from the US, I think. And it seems just something that's so normal for the US. It just seems so normal for the US. I don't know. Maybe that's just me. All right, we got another commercial. We're going to be back. Yo, I don't know what's going on with France. I don't know what the NFL is doing, but it is bringing in top rugby players like they are water. So apparently the the Los Angeles Chargers got another star rugby player going over to train with them. We're going to talk a little bit more about that. We'll be right back with Rugby Swag.
All right, I don't want to hold you guys off. I know it's another ad. Watch out now. But I need to tell you guys about Rugby Outlet Mall. Look, this is the official e-commerce store for Rugby Swag Show and for GiftTime Rugby Network. And of course, we want to make sure that we are hooking you up with gear that is absolutely built for you to be able to wear on a day-to-day. Of course, we can do jerseys, and everybody has a jersey, but not everybody wears a jersey every day. But we have the rugby gear for you. Whether it is our FedEx best or our PayPal best, we have unique designs that are going to be fun and desirable for you to represent the way that you need to. And of course, if you guys go to rugbyoutletmall.com and use the code Grow Rugby, we're going to save you 10% off your first order. Hey, please support Rugby Swag Show. And of course, even some of our other stuff, the HBC Rugby Classic, and just general gear and merch for you guys, because, hey, I want you guys to have the best. And I definitely appreciate you guys supporting. So definitely go rugbyoutletmall.com, use promo code GROW Rugby, GREAUX Rugby, and you will get 10% off your first order. Thank you so much. I appreciate you guys. And let me let you get back. Cheers.
All right, so we're back. Yo, San Diego, I keep saying San Diego Chargers. They're not San Diego. The Los Angeles Chargers are out here recruiting rugby players, all right, bringing them into LA. No, it was actually found this week that the biggest rugby star, not named Ilona Maher, in the world, in Antoine Dupont, the current Olympic gold medalist for France, has come into LA and decided to take it by storm with meetings with the LA Clippers. Now, you can be like, what is happening over here? And I said the same thing, because I was like, wait, did Antoine Dupont go like, I've won so many awards, I've gotten so many club championships, I've been able to get my Olympic gold, I may as well go take it to the NFL and let me follow in the steps of Louis Rees-Zammit. But it also didn't really make any sense because, one, he still hasn't won a Rugby World Cup, which I could imagine would be the biggest itch, especially whenever you were in the semifinals before losing to the Springboks that close. But like, and just in your heart, knowing that you couldn't finish that. But it was wild that he decided to go do a trip and a tour through Los Angeles and legitimately going through places. Obviously, we talk a lot about his going to visit the LA Clippers. Apparently, he trained with them for a few days. Talked with Jim Harbaugh, the coach, trading with the players' jerseys and whatnot, which I think is so legitimately dope. If you get, I have a skit that I put out how World Rugby saw planning for the Rugby World Cup 2031. You can find it inside on my YouTube. But one of the things that I had really specifically said was that I truly believe that World Rugby needs to pay some of these star players who are going to be most likely in the Rugby World Cup and leading up to it for 2031 to go do press tours around the U.S. and introduce themselves to us, to the nation, because there is legitimacy in the story, not the game, the story that the players had. And I think the team is planning to do, but he clearly has a measure of trying to see how far his reach can go. And I bet you, because he saw what Ilona Maher has been going through, that he was like, hey, I'm the only rugby player who's gotten more traffic in one time than she has, which was way back in the Rugby World Cup. He had the most traffic by actually further than Ilona, and hers was high after the Olympics. His was dumb crazy high. Only one. What can he do? And he went to the right place. The USA, proud to be an American. Money and entertainment comes together. And he was like, he clearly was going on a tour. And I got to give him this much more credit, because not only did he go through a tour of LA talking with people, and probably trying to set up partnerships that could be able to rise his stardom in a global manner rather than just as a, for what it's worth, just France and international within the rugby community manner, and really try and be a global star. He also went to the clubs that were in LA. Obviously, he went to LA RFC and hung out with them, which is, that's got, I hope they use that as some level of a promo in some way, shape, or form. I didn't look at their social media to see, but there's something that was legit that goes with that. In addition to that, you know, you also saw him playing beach rugby with, I think, Belmont Shores. You can see that on the Rugby Now store, social media account. That is a legit blessing to be able to have like a few, as a club, USA club rugby player, you got to catch passes and play with arguably the most talented or the most complete rugby player in the world, arguably, even though he hasn't beat a Southern Hemisphere team really significantly. I mean, they played Argentina, but I don't even know if he was even really playing in that one. I don't think he was playing. And they lost the next game. So what does that mean? But like, that's legit. I give him credit. I think that the biggest mistake they did do is that they did not do enough lead up press for this. I guess he was going on vacation and doing these, but you want to be a global star, you need to be making press all the time. All the time. You need to be in it. This is how you win the US. This is how you win more money, because clearly that 60% out of France and the UK ain't going to get you very far. You need to tap into this overhyped billions dollar, even though inflation is killing us, money that's out here. And that also helps the game in the US as well too. So whatever it was that was going on, like, I give him credit, but also don't fret, don't worry. It doesn't look like Antoine Dupont is in any rush to leave rugby and go to the NFL like Louis Rees-Zammit. He said in an article that you can find on Wales Online, which is ironic because, you know, Louis Rees-Zammit is Welsh. He said in the article, Dupont, the article goes, Dupont, you know, I gotta bring you up. You know, I don't want to leave you out in the dust. I gotta bring you up. It said, Dupont played down speculations. All right. Dupont downplayed speculations, but it's clear he has enjoyed getting to know another sport. There was rumors with the 27-year-old engaging in practice with the American football team. the Los Angeles Clippers, Los Angeles Chargers, it has prompted rumors he could be about to follow in Louis Rezamit's footsteps and make the leap across the pond for good. Now, what Dupont said is, the first thing I did was watch the team training. He told AFP, whatever, I guess is the publication. We toured all the facilities, which are pretty incredible, just like you'd expect from the Americans. The changing rooms, the screens, the game rooms, everything is huge. Recognized game. I like him a little bit more now. After that, I got to work on some skills, catching balls, tackling techniques, and even some footwork with kicker Cameron Dicker. I also did a bit of core work with the fitness trainer. It's the best way to spend a holiday, being able to train while discovering some pretty cool things. And if there's one sport that's closest to rugby, it is probably American football. But when pressed on whether he could see himself in the NFL in the future, he added, no, I think it's quite far from rugby. I would really have to dedicate a lot of time to it. And to be honest, I don't even have a position in mind where I could see myself. Nevertheless, Dupont says he'd been impressed by the standards set by his hosts, both in terms of their physicality and the facilities they boast. You can see how demanding these guys are on a daily basis, even in the cafeteria with tailored menus, food supplements, the gym, the changing room, right down to the choice of spikes cleats for us Americans. He added, they leave nothing to chance with considerable resources at their disposal. So I love that. I love this cross sports training, especially with American football and rugby, because it makes it easier for Americans to kind of put things in perspective. But more importantly, I really want to diminish and remove this weird, annoying rivalry of American football fans to rugby fans, and us crossovers being kind of stuck in the middle, where you're just like, guys, these are not the same. Like, yeah, one derived from the other, but we're in two very different positions. This is not worth the battle. But I understand there's always a competition. But this continued cross promoting each other, I think absolutely should be, because this is why, again, I say I wish Antoine Dupont had done more lead up, because at the same time, the LA Chargers could have been trying to tap in more into France to be able to see if they can get more fans attached to them, because more games are getting played in Europe. Brett Gosper, who was the former CEO for for World Rugby, is now the NFL Europe basically director. So this element of being able to utilizing their resources together can function well for rugby without having to see players turn over. Like, I love that he did this. I love that the LA Chargers did this. And it's hilarious to me that he's lauding up the LA Chargers facilities because Dean Spanos paid nothing for the facilities that the LA Chargers had. This is all LA Rams all day. But like, yo, it's good, man. You know, SoFi Stadium and the respective sides doing their thing. So I love this. I love that he went out there and showed that work and showed the athleticism. The photos on, I think, his Instagram page, and I think you can find it on the Clippers, the Chargers Instagram page as well. Like, that's just good. This is good. I just want more press going behind it so that there is a better celebrity feeling. Like, as he said about the facilities, as Americans, we need everything to be big. It needs to be shiny. It needs to be big. It needs to be over the top. It needs to feel like royalty without royalty. We don't put the terms royalty into phase because we don't like the idea of somebody controlling us from a position, but we enjoy the pageantry that comes with royalty, and then we'll allow them to control us because they seem so big and mighty as a result of that. But like, that's what rugby has to have, especially coming in when you're doing the Rugby World Cup, when we're promoting our professional leagues, whenever we're doing all the work needed to be able to really take off and bring it to the public in a way that impresses. It has to be big and shiny, just like the facilities, and feel like there's resources at disposal. Like, that's the game. That's the game, whether it's you have it or not. That's the game in winning in the Americas. So in America, in the U.S., really, I don't know, Canada and Mexico are different, but in the U.S. for sure. in the US for sure. So I absolutely love this. This was a really dope situation altogether. I can't even hate it, man. But let me know what you guys think. Do you guys feel like there should be more rugby stars doing tours here in the US on their off season between games, trying to be able to get to know the place, being able to bring more to the public and not just on game day with the minimal limited amount of press that would end up coming from that. Like I feel like this is just you got to be doing this more. You got to do this more. Like this is where the money is truly made at. All right, and for our last story of the day, man, women's elite rugby, y'all. All right, we talked about it. They're here. They're coming. All right, they already finished their Legacy Cup in partnership with the Women's Premier League, and they are here to let you know that declaration period is officially started. Technically, it started September 23rd. It's beginning of October now, and it will last until October 20th. Now, what does that mean? What does the declaration period actually mean? This is the period of time when players can put their name inside the respective, I don't know if I want to say draft, but inside the respective rostering so that they can have a chance to be selected by a team, which I guess ultimately would still make it sort of a draft, but I think it's still a little different, to be able to be selected for a team for the 2025 season. All right. Looking for players who are ready to take their game to the next level. All eligible athletes are invited. Now, what does it mean? What do you need to have to be able to be eligible for declaration? All right. What does it mean to be able to get a chance to be part of this upstart league that's looking to take women's rugby to the next level, take it to where we've not seen it ever before, which I think it's already started. So let's go hit up, of course, the website, women's elite rugby.us/declarations. All right. All right. So what do we got first? Obviously, they talk about the structure of the league. It's going to be 6 teams. We've talked about this in past episodes. They're going to be in San Francisco, Boston, Chicago, Denver, New York, and Minnesota, St. Paul. Minneapolis and St. Paul, Minnesota. And they'll be playing home and aways for each of them. Players receive at minimum elite level training because they're going to have daily training schedule, complete travel coverage, so flights, transportation, meals, hotels, all paid for. And then they're going to be working on, I guess, the salaries as it goes on. So they're slowly trying to find their way into more profitability. They'll get medical support, yada, yada, yada. Their daily training is looking to be 3 days per week with strength and conditioning sessions in between, required meetings for practice, preview games, game analysis, video reviews, yada, yada, yada. And then players will have a minimum of 2 days off per week. So it looks like 16 hours of per week of time, which I think is being said very specifically so that you can determine exactly what your salary could end up being. And as we said, the declaration time. So this is where it begins. Declaration time. What is it that you need to be able to declare? Number one, the process includes completing the initial declaration documentation, which is right here on this website, women's elite rugby.us/declaration. Number two, submitting match film that has to be at least of you playing 40 minutes. They want match film. They talk about this right back at the top, almost straight up, right here. Links to 2 to 3 matches with a minimum of 40 minutes of playing time each. All right. So got to get at least a half. Got to have a half of rugby in there. And then there's medical questionnaires and then your HIPAA waiver. So basically they can do medical stuff and actually share it between them and you're not going to be able to sue. All right. And then the big thing, what's it? Okay. I love this. Do I have to move to play? That is a big maybe, especially if you're not in any one of those 6 cities. Players who have a compelling case to be in a specific market, a current resident, job opportunity, hometown, can request an in-state athlete designation. This designation restricts which teams can select the athlete to only the local market. Having an in-state designation does not guarantee that the athlete will be selected in that market. And then how will you know that you are being selected? All right. Coaches will begin their selection process in November when they select 5 foundational players who have been historic members of the local rugby market. It's basically pulling from the WPL. Following the announcement of the foundational players, there will be 2 selection rounds held in December, the draft. Selected players will be contacted after each round to confirm their role and sign initial league agreements. Complete roster will be announced in January of 2025. So as your Christmas present, you might get selected to be part of the Women's Elite Rugby. All right. What happens if you are not selected? Players who are not selected are able to play amateur rugby, which is play Women's Premier League or any of your local clubs, and re-enter into the selection process the following year. A limited number of local market players who are not initially selected will be offered an on-call athlete role. These athletes will be part of a pool of players who are available for selection, your free agency, to the training squad in the event of an injury or other issues with training numbers. Now, what impact does playing in the WER have on my collegiate eligibility? I love this because obviously in the U.S. sports, if you get an agent, or if you got an agent, you were officially no longer considered as an amateur. And if you're a football player going to the NFL, a basketball player going to the NBA or WNBA, you would no longer be eligible to play college sports because you'd be considered as professional and not amateur, even though now amateur doesn't exist in college sports in the U.S. But different collegiate programs will have different eligibility restrictions. High school and college players who choose to join the WER risk impacting their collegiate eligibility. Players who have questions about their specific situations are encouraged to discuss the implications with their existing college coach, eligibility personnel at their current or prospective university, or eligibility specialist. There will be a collegiate selection process in May for those athletes who are current college athletes who wish to finish their collegiate career before declaring for the WER. That I think is actually a little confusing because you got essentially 2 declaration periods, right? You got the one that will be in December that you get in, and then you have another one that's in May. Unless the one that they're talking about for the next roundabout is that May one, then never mind. But if you have to, replace for, September and October to pick up for January, there's going to be a lot of women's college players that are going to come out and they would take up these positions. Like, why would they double it up? But I'm assuming now, as I'm thinking about it, they're going to make it where you are essentially, You are essentially being drafted for May. All right. And lastly, which is the most important one, I think, because this is the one that afflicts the MLR and whatnot, is if I am an international player, can I join Women's Elite Rugby? And they say, at this moment, we can't accommodate you. It's more specifically, WER is not able to support player visas. However, if players are eligible to work in the U.S. or have secured visas on their own prior to the start of the season, they may be considered for the 2025 season. So it is feasible to be able to play for them. You just have to make sure your visa is already done straight, and they're not going to do anything for you. They just can't afford it, and it's expensive to be hosting visas. So if you know somebody who is already in the collegiate, who is looking to play professional as a woman, I know there's a lot of roots players that are capable for it. I'm interested to see if the crossover of PR7s as well as WER end up being a clash amongst themselves. Because that would be an interesting take in it of itself. And subsequently, if you feel like you're capable of playing at that level, and again, there's a lot of women's Premier League players who are basically playing professional in a semi-pro amateur league, which seems like a contrast, but that's what's happening. So I just want passing on the information to you. You know, we just want to make sure that you know that you got the options. But that's all we got, man. That's all we got. We're gonna get to one last commercial, and then I'm gonna go to some final words before I let you go.
I'm going to let you get back to the show. I hope you guys are enjoying it so far. But in 2024, it is necessary that you have your own website. Don't let anybody tell you social media is the only place that you can be able to advertise. You need your own home. And the best home to be able to purchase online is through Green Geeks. This is the web host platform that gives you the most for the cheapest price, y'all. I've been using Green Geeks for almost 10 years now, and off of the WordPress platform, I've been able to customize and create websites to my desire and to the liking that I need. Included with it, they give you some of the best customer service in the business, and I cannot say enough about them. They have been able to be a great assistance to everything I do. And if you guys want to be able to start today at $4.95 per month, go to the link in the bio or the link in the caption, depending on where you're at, and go use it to help the show and get your site up right away. There's no reason that you need to be having complications, that you need to be paying thousands of dollars to be able to do it, or even thousands of dollars per month to be able to get your website up. Go to Green Geeks, check it out, support the show. All right, let's get you back.
All right, y'all. I want to thank you guys so much for taking the time to listen to this show. Always appreciate the conversations that we have in the comments. I'm telling you, man. People like Rick the Rugger and Neil. Oh, I forgot the number. You guys, all you cats, Jason, all you cats that have been commenting, and we have the conversations about rugby in the chats, in the comments. Absolutely appreciate it, and y'all absolutely join in if you can. Also, please absolutely take a look at some of our past episodes. We had an interview last with Australia women's rugby coach Joe Yap, who just got a big win in WXV this past week, and so should be interesting to see the rise of Australia rugby. We got some great interviews coming up. This week, and I'm excited to be able to get them out, man. You can't tell me nothing, boy. And you guys are gonna want to hear these because they're gonna. What's changing the game, man? Well, no, not really, but we're really making it entertaining, really making sure that we are getting you the stories, so they don't get lost in the ignorance. But yeah, absolutely check out. Even though some of our other past episodes, like I said, we got like Nia Tapper back before that predicted basically where she was going to be to this day. We got recently, people like I said, Joe Yap. We had Nyasha Nkundi of ASTAC Gaming bringing daily fantasy sports for rugby and other niche sports, and just a slew of people, man, including other episodes. And of course, always keep coming back for more news and information about what's going on and around, and help to be able to create clarification and straight word through. If you don't know it, hey, we're going to try and keep up and make sure you're a part of it. So thank you guys so much again for it. I truly am blessed. But most importantly, though, I want you to know that I hope that you are happy. I hope that you are healthy, and really, and you need to take this to heart. And I hope that you know that you are highly favored. Cheers.